Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video this is going to be the first of a three-part. So we're going to do this in AutoCAD, which will be this video. The next one you're going to see me do is doing this shape in 3D AutoCAD and also making a drawing for it, and then finally we will finish it out with Inventor. So I'm going to jump over to AutoCAD and get started and kind of break this down a little bit. Okay, so before we get started on this, you see that we have a bunch of concentric circles here, right? And that has a huge benefit because they're all whole numbers. And what I'm going to show you is a shortcut, and I've shown this in other videos, but all of these numbers here, they're nice and whole numbers, and they're concentric to each other. This will allow me to do a shortcut, right? And I'm going to show you both ways of how I would normally do it, and then I'm going to show you this kind of shortcut way. And also up here if you look at it. So this is going to be one of those ways where you can kind of shoot through a whole lot of circles, you know, really quick. The benefit of it is if they're whole numbers. If they have a decimal in them, you have to do a little bit of tweaking, but it still can be done, right? But overall, this one shouldn't take us, you know, too long. I will warn you that once we get to the isometric, you're going to see me kind of jump back and forth, and I'm going to try to explain exactly what I'm doing to create this. So we will be creating the isometric in this video. Okay. I think that's probably enough, but I am going to show you two ways of how to draw all of these concentric circles. The first way would be your traditional way, and then the second way is going to be your, I would guess, shortcut method to it. Okay, let's go ahead and do all of our normal stuff that we usually do. Let's go ahead and turn off this grid since we're not going to use it. We're going to turn our ortho on, and then we're going to go ahead and check our running O snaps, and these are going to be the O snaps that you're going to see me use. Okay, so hopefully this shouldn't be too long of a video. I'm kind of hoping that it won't, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be an hour video, so go ahead and sit back and relax. All right, let's start off doing it the traditional way. So I'm going to start off by creating a circle, right? And I'll click here. And I'm going to make the biggest circle that I can make, right? And it's going to be the one that says 64. So I'm just going to make that circle 64. Then I'll go ahead and zoom the extents. And then what I would do is I would just constantly create these other circles. So you can do the same thing by just either coming up here to the top here, come back to here, and then we can make our next circle, which is at 55. We can go a little bit faster than that just by hitting C enter. Right, come down here to the center of this. Once I click that, I'm going to type in D enter. Right, we did our 55. The next one is going to be 43. And then we can do that again just by hitting the enter button. Go to the center here, type in D enter, and then 34. So that's one way of doing all of those circles, and that's the traditional way that I like to look at it, right? But let's say we go ahead and create this first circle here, right? So I have this done. The only way that this is going to work is I have to turn my dynamic input off, right? So let me go ahead and turn that on here in the options. Just going to select it where it says customize, and then I'm going to put a check next to dynamic input. It's going to give me this icon here. I'm just going to make sure I turn that off. I'm going to select this circle here. I'm going to select this grip. I'm going to come down to the word copy. And now all I'm going to do is just start typing in the number that I want it to be, right? So this is the first circle, which is at 64. I'll type in 55 divided by 2, hit enter, and it's going to allow me to keep going. So there's my 55 circle. Then I'll go 43 divided by 2, enter, and then I'll type in 34 divided by 2, enter. The reason I have to divide it by 2, and let's go ahead and escape out of this, is because we have to type in the radius, right? So it's looking for a radius. Radius is half the diameter. In our drawing, everything is given to us in diameter. So therefore, I have to put in and divide it by 2. And that's also the reason why this works really well. But if you have decimals, you got to kind of convert things and move decimals over. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn my dynamic input back on. Let's zoom out a little bit. I'm going to draw a line from here going right up 75. I don't have to do this step, but sometimes I like to do this for anybody that's kind of new to AutoCAD. So I'm just going to go and find the center here. Left click on that center. I want to go straight up, type in 75, hit enter, escape. Let's go ahead and put those other two circles here at the top. So I'll use a circle center diameter, Click here, give it its diameter, which is going to be 38. Since it's only 2 circles, it's a lot easier just to come back and click on this one again. Go to that center there, and then type in 20 for the diameter, right? So we have both of our circles, well, both of the components of our circles. The next thing I'm going to do is go to fillet. I'm going to go and adjust my radius, 64. I'm going to tell it that I have multiple, and then I'm going to select this circle here, somewhere in this area, and it does matter where you select. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing here and here. All right, let's go ahead and delete that. So now our front view is done. Let's go ahead and create the right side view. The way we're going to do that is we're going to go to the draw menu. I'm going to go to the construction line here. I'm going to tell it that I want horizontal, and then I'm just going to kind of go up all of these quadrants. So I'm just going to click these quadrants going right up through here. All right, give me 1 second here. A lot of little bitty quadrants. Okay. And once I have that, I'm going to kind of work my way from the top going down. So I'm going to start off by creating a line, just L enter, come here, and I'm going to go all the way down. I'm going to offset this line over 30, or I can use copy, either one will work, but I'm just going to go to offset, type in 30, then I'll offset this line over here to top. So I'm going to work along the top here. I'm just going to use the trim command, so trim, and I'm going to take off this portion here, down to here, trim in between here, and then back up to here. Okay, so that's the top portion that I've created, right? Really simple, really quick and easy. Let's work down here at the bottom, right? So this overall length is at 30. I do have one that's sitting at 45, and I'm going to work with that one first. So I'm just going to go to offset, 45, hit enter. I'll go ahead and select this line here and go forward. Okay, so from this first offset, I know that this part here is there. So I'm going to go back to the trim command, and then I'm just going to trim this up to here, and the exact same thing along the top here. So I'm just going to trim this to here, and then let's go ahead and get rid of these 2 lines here. All right, so now we have that done. We know that our next portion here is trimmed off right in here, right? Because we don't have anything going between here, all the way down to here. So everything stops there, and I can trim off these lines here. Let's also get the ones here off the back, and I'm just doing 1 left click and coming down using a fence. Okay, go ahead and hit escape once you have that. Let's go ahead and delete all of these lines. Now let's come back and work here. Let's go back to the offset command, 5 enter, and then we're going to offset this going to the inside this way, and then here to here, right? Now we're ready to kind of trim this and finish it up on this view. So I'll go back to the trim command. I'll go ahead and trim off these portions, and then get rid of that line there, right? And this one as well. Same thing here along the top. So I'm going to trim off here, in between here, this portion here, and this portion here. Okay. So now that's all trimmed. Let's come and work right in this area here. I'm going to draw a line from here. I'm going to use the copy command instead of offset this time. So I'll go to copy. I'll select this line here, hit enter, click here. I'm just going to drag this this direction. I'm going to type in 10, enter, 20, enter, hit escape twice. Go ahead and delete that line there. And then I'm just going to trim off in between here. So go back to the trim command. I just typed in TR there. And I'll trim in between here. Okay. So now that I have all of that done, now we're ready to kind of take a look at doing the isometric. So I'm going to refer back to this drawing here, a little bit back and forth, to create my isometric. Remember that when we create an isometric, the first thing we want to do is switch over to isometric here at the bottom. And I'm going to be, like I said in the intro there, I'll be switching back and forth between these ISO tops and ISO left. So I'll try to make sure that I make it a point to mention that. But I'm going to start off here with the ISO left. I'm going to type in EL, enter, I enter, and that stands for ISO circle. So I'm going to create an ellipse with an ISO circle. I'm drawing it out this way. I'll type in D, enter, and then I'll go ahead and type in my first diameter, which is going to be 34, hit enter. Go ahead and create my next one. So back to EL, enter, I enter, go ahead and find the center, click here, expand it out, de-enter, and then the next one that I have here is going to be 43. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to an isometric top, and I'm going to send this back a distance of 45, right? So I'm just going to copy these two lines, or two ellipses, click here, go back this direction, type in 45, hit enter. I'm going to draw a line from this quadrant to this one, draw a line from this quadrant to this one. I can see that there's no show through from this part to here, so therefore I can go ahead and delete that circle there in the middle there, and then I'm going to trim off this part here. Alright, so that's that inside part there, right? It goes all the way back to 45. Next thing I need to do is I'm going to work on the back one, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create my big circle here, which is at 64. So EL, enter, I enter. I'm going to go find the center to here. I'm going to come down here and switch back to the isometric left. And then I'm going to type in de-enter, and then that big circle there, or big ellipse in this case, is going to be 64. Okay, so that's my very big ellipse there, right? And I'm just going to copy this thing forward a little bit. So I'm going to take this, go to copy, switch back and forth between isometric top, click here, and I'm just going to copy this forward a distance of 30. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a line going from that quadrant to here. Same thing here on the top, quadrant to here. Okay, let's go ahead and kind of, pretty this up a little bit. So I'm just going to trim. I'm just going to get rid of this portion here and here. Hit escape and go ahead and delete this. And then here in the front, I see that I have all of this going on. I'm just going to go back to the trim command, and I want to trim off right here and here. Escape from there. Go ahead and delete that. Okay. All right, so now we have this portion working. Now we have a kind of setback that's happening right at this location. All right, so we have a ellipse there, and I'm see what the number of it is. Let's see, so we have our 43, we have our 34, and then we have our 55. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to switch to an isometric left, EL, enter. I'm going to go to this center, which is located here. Oh, I forgot to hit I enter. That's what I was missing. EL, enter, I enter. There we go. I'm just going to go to this center. Type in D, enter, and then this is my 55, right? So this is where that portion kind of comes out, right? All right, so I have that here, and now I need to also show where it kind of collides or where it offsets back, right? So I have this edge and it comes up here, and then it shoots to the back. So what I'm going to do is switch back to the isometric top, copy this portion here, enter. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to send it back this direction a distance of 5. Okay, so that's going to be that part here, that ring there. And then I also have another ring on the inside of this, which is at 43, right? So I need to find the center of here, and then go ahead and put that ring here. Switch back to the ISO left, EL, enter, I enter. Go and find the center of this one. So make sure you're seeing where that center is, which is located at here. And then this one is our 43, right? So de-enter 43. Okay. So now I have a lot of stuff kind of happening here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Most of this stuff in the back we will not see. So I'm just going to trim it or delete that portion there. I'm going to trim off this portion. So I'm going to start with the trim command. And I'm going to start with this line here, and I'm just going to walk it as far back to here as I possibly can. I'll do the exact same thing here along the bottom. So starting with that line, I'm just bringing it right back up to this circle here in the front. All right. Then we're going to work with this circle here. We won't see any of this part. And I'm just kind of walking it around like so. All right. So there's our first portion. Let's take a look at this line here. So I'm just going to get rid of that circle here because we're not going to see it even along here on the back. And it wraps around and comes to here. We're not going to see any of that happening. We're also going to get rid of all the stuff in between here. Let's go ahead and get rid of it starting at this point and here. Here and here. Okay. I'm going to come down here at the bottom. Go to here in this part. Let's go ahead and escape, and no, I can trim it. Let's go ahead and keep trimming. That way I'll stay in this trim command. Alright, so we have all of that going on. We also have this circle here that we're not going to see, so I'll trim that portion out. And now if you take a look at it, you can see that we do have our shape created here. Exactly what we want to do. Or see, we have this part protruding out and it goes to a certain depth, stops here. This part flares out to here and it comes up and then it wraps around and does exactly what we have pictured there. Okay, now let's work on the top part. Let's draw a line from this center here in the back and go up a distance of 75. Let's go ahead and draw our ellipses again. So EL, I enter. I'm going to click here. D, enter. 38, enter. Same thing again. So EL, enter. I enter. Click here. D, enter. 20 and enter. Right. Let's go ahead and switch to our isometric top again. I'm going to copy these two circles from here, and I'm just going to send it forward a distance of 30. Let's go ahead and get rid of that line there. Let's draw some lines from this quadrant here to this one. Same thing here along the top, so from that quadrant to this quadrant. Let's go ahead and get rid of this circle in the inside. It doesn't show through. And then we're going to trim. Just type in TR and get rid of that portion there. Okay, so everything at this point was kind of straightforward. Now we need to figure out how to get these radii that's sitting here on both sides of this, right? So we're going to work on both of these at the same time. Now, in order to do that, I have to figure out how far is the center location for these. And I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the isometric left here. All right, and I'm going to show you that by looking at this drawing here. So I need to know how far is it from this center to the center of this. Easy enough. I'm just going to type DAL. That stands for dim align. I'm going to go from this center. Click here. Then I'm going to find the center here, which is somewhere out here. I'm going to do the exact same thing here along the bottom. You can see that distance is 83. That's what it's telling me here on the command line. So back to the DAL, enter. Let's go and find that center. We're going to go look for this center again, which is located here. And you can see that this one is at 96. I can also zoom into them. So I got an 83 and I got a 96. All right. Now the way that that plays here is that this top one is this number here. So it's got an 83 and our 96. So EL, enter, I enter. Let's go from this center. And then the radius is 83. Back to that same command, EL, enter, I enter. Let's click here. Oh, clicked the wrong point and I kind of forgot. That's 96. Okay. So EL, enter, I enter. Let's go find the center, which is located here. And then I have a circle that is sitting at 96. All right. So I have two intersections here. This is where I'm going to place those fillets that are sitting at a radius of 64. So EL, enter, I enter. Let's click at that intersection here. This is 64. Exact same thing along the other side. So EL, enter, I enter. Let's go ahead and click on this intersection here, 64. And now I can get rid of these two big circles here. So all of those did was give me my correct center points of where I need to locate those at. Okay. Let's go ahead and switch over to an isometric top again. Let's go ahead and select these two objects here. We're going to go ahead and move them forward a distance of 10. So I'm going to go up 10 and then I'm going to copy these. That circle in this one. Clicking here, going forward a distance of 10. Okay. So here along this side, you're really not going to see anything that's happening. So if I go to trim and I say, hey, at this line here, I'm going to select a couple of cutting edges. I'm going to say, hey, this line and this circle is going to be my cutting edge, and I'll hit enter after that. I'll zoom out, and this is going to help me trim off that portion relatively quickly. I'm just going to trim off these portions, and I can already tell I'm not going to see that back line here. So this one does not even show. Okay. But on this side, I have to do a little bit more work to show where everything is at, right? Lucky for us that these are in line with each other, so I can select this line or that circle there and this one. And I can go to copy. I'm just going to pick a base point here. I'm going to go this direction. I'll type in 10. Enter, and that's going to give me where that intersects at both of those locations, right? Now I can choose to keep going from this point and do another one, but just to save myself some confusion here from all of these circles and things of that nature, I'm going to stop it right at that point here. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm just going to go find this intersection and go straight across here. I'm going to do the exact same thing here along the top. So find the intersection and go straight across. Okay. So now what I can do with that is use the trim command, use a cutting edge. I'm going to select this line and this line, enter, and then I'm going to take off this circle and this circle, right? So I just got it stopping right there at these lines here, and that's exactly what we want to see happen, right? I'm going to escape out of this, and I'll clean this up here in a second, but now I need to work with this circle here. So I'm just going to go to trim. I'm going to get rid of this bottom part of it here, and then we got to kind of look and see exactly what's happening here, right? So I'm just going to find this one here, and I'm just going to kind of walk it back to right where it intersects. And then I have some kind of extra stuff happening here. Let's escape out of this one and delete that part here. And then we can finally clean up everything, right? So here along the top, let's see, it goes up here. We won't see any of that stuff there. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that circle here along the top. And we can decide whether you want to delete that or you want to leave that line there. That's going to be kind of up to you. So I'm just going to trim it. And trim off that portion here as well as here. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of some other stuff. So we're going to trim off that. That shows up there. We're going to get rid of here and this. And right between here. Okay. Escape out of this along here at the bottom. I'm going to delete that portion. And we should take a look at this. And now we do have our isometric completely drawn. Okay, so now with this done, we're ready to switch over and do some drafting. I'm just going to go ahead and delete those there. And then I'm going to start off by creating my title block, right? Let's jump out of the isometric. Let's do a rectangle. So REC, enter 0, 0, enter 17, 11, enter. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm just going to do an offset of 0.25. So select that, go to offset, type in 0.25. And I just want to offset that to the inside. I'm going to go ahead and delete this outside. Then I'll choose create. Title it TB. Just going to be a title block. The base point is fine. I'll go ahead and select objects. I'm going to select this rectangle here, hit enter. Everything else should be fine. Now I'll hit OK. All right, so now all of this is going to kind of, you know, it breaks it down for me. So now I can go ahead and scale this up and figure out what my scale factor is. And that's the only reason I create this as a block. So with this highlighted, I'm going to right click and select properties. Should open a dialog box. I'm just going to tell it my scale X, in this case, is going to be set to 20. Now, if yours don't have the, you can see how my other scale Y and scale Z is grayed out, and that's because I had the scale uniformly checked in the box when I created it, but you can just type in 20 in all of the rest of these boxes and everything is going to work fine. Okay, so I'm going to leave all of this stuff at full scale. So I'm just going to move all of this. Let's go ahead and turn our ortho off and kind of get it positioned somewhere like so. I'm just going to move this as well. Now I'm going to be using the annotation scale. That's going to make my life a lot easier. So I'm just going to tell it here at the bottom that I'm going to be using annotation scale. There we go. So I have the annotation scale set. Let's go ahead and create some layers. So quick layers here. Giving it a second for the dialog box to open up. We have a layer called, let's call it dimension. And then we're going to create one for, we got a hatch that we have to create. And we're going to have a center. Looks like it didn't catch it. And then we can do one that's a section one. I usually like to call this one Phantom. But today I'm just going to call it a section one. Okay, so that should be all we need. So underneath my section one, I'm just going to go ahead and change the line type. Go to load. Go find Phantom. Hit OK, and I'm going to use the Phantom 2. Select, hit OK. Go find the center one. Tell it that we want to put it on the center layer. We don't have any hidden layers. Otherwise, I would have created that one as well. But in this case, I'm just going to go find my center 2. Hit OK. Select center 2. Hit OK. Hatch should be fine. Dimension. And we can assign some color to this. So let's make our dimension layer red. So that's going to be color number 1. And let's go ahead and make our hatch. Let's make it green. So it'll be color number 3. And the center, we can make that cyan. That'll be color number 4 here. And finally, I'll make my section one. Let's make it color number 5. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the center layer command. And I'm going to tell it to put it on the center layer, right? So that'll help me out there. Another thing I'm going to do is adjust my center EXE. Let's go ahead and make that number 5. Okay. Switch to the annotate tab here. Go to center mark. I'm just going to select here and here. I'll go to my center line, select between here and here. Hit the enter button and do the exact same thing here along the bottom. Okay. Now this usually I like to have one continuous line, so I'll usually select this one. Go ahead and grab that and click it on that endpoint. Okay. So now we have all of our center marks on here. We're ready to put the hatch on here. So let's go ahead and put the hatch. The hatch is located on the Home tab, and you can just type in BH and it's located here. Give it a second. What I usually like to do is set this whatever my scale factor is. In my case, it's going to be set to 20. So I can click here. In these 3 places, right? Let's go ahead and close the hatch creation. Now they're not on the right layer, and I know this is one of those things that may drive people crazy, is that when they select it here, our ribbon changes back to the hatch pattern. Remember, you can always override that just by selecting the Home, coming down, and then select hatch, and then hit escape twice to get out of it. So we do have our hatches now. Okay, let's go ahead and set up our dimensions. Let's go back to this annotate tab here. I'm going to tell it that my dimensions are going to be set to dim, and then I'm going to change the standard to the annotative one. Hit escape, and then I can select this drop down here, and it should automatically tell me that annotation is my current layer here. You can double click on it here if you didn't go through those steps. Let's go to modify. We're going to start with our primary units tab. Giving it a second to load up. So underneath our primary units, we're just going to tell it to go ahead and suppress the trailing zeros. The reason I do this and don't change it here is that it will give me the exact number. So this one of those ways I make sure my drawing is created correctly. Underneath the fit tab here, there is nothing to change here since we're using the annotative scale, which is automatically set to 20. Underneath our text height, we can make this or leave it at this height. I usually like to make mine a little bit smaller. I think I'll do that today. Make it 0.125. Underneath our symbols and arrows, I always like to tell it to leave this set to none. And then I typically don't change anything here on the none. Anything that I do change is usually like this extension beyond. So I can control how long this little line is. So if those lines look a little too long to you, you can always decrease this by making it 0.125, and just that extension alone will now look a little bit cleaner and a little bit tighter. Let's go ahead and hit the OK button, and then let's hit close. All right, so working on all of my dimensions here, we're going to start off by using all of our diameter dimensions, right? I'm going to just put one here. I'm just going to hit the enter button just to save time. I'm going to work it here, and I'm just kind of working around like so. One more here. Let's look at the top. I'm going to have one here, one more, and we do have one sitting here. Okay. Let's take a look at our radius dimension. We're going to have one here. And we're going to hit the enter button, and we're going to have one on the other side, like so. We're going to add a linear dimension. So from this endpoint to here should be all we need to tell on this side. Let's go ahead and dimension our section here. So we're going to use a linear dimension from that endpoint all the way up to the front. That should give me my 45. Just going to hit the enter button just to save us some time here. Go from here to here, right? That's going to be my 30. And make sure you're understanding how I'm selecting these. I want my number on this 5 to be on this side, so therefore I'm going to select that endpoint first, and then here, and then it's going to kick it out going that direction, right? So work here on the top one here, so I'm just going to hit enter from here to here. So hold it there, hit enter again. So from here to here, go ahead and click it here. It puts it on the inside. Let me escape out of that. I'm going to select this dimension here. I'm going to go and find that middle grip, and I usually like to pull these to the outside. Same with this one here. I usually like to keep these kind of going to the outside so there's no confusion. Let's zoom out. Let's put a 30 dimension here along the top. All right, so now I have all of my dimensions done. Let's go ahead and put a section that's going through here. So let's work right along here. I'm going to start off by using the Polyline command. So PL enter. My starting point, I'm going to click here, and then it asks me for my width or how I'm going to create this. Excuse me. So I'll start off with the width. Let's see, I'll use my starting width as 3, enter. My ending width will be 0, and then I'm just need to tell it which direction. Let's go ahead and turn this ortho back on. So I'm going to drag out this direction, and it looks like about 8. Great. Go ahead and hit escape. Go back to the Polyline command. So PL is what I'm using. I'm just kind of using these shortcuts so we can speed these videos up a little bit. Go from this endpoint out this direction and then go up a little bit. That is perfect, right? I'm going to select all of this, jump back to the Home tab, and go ahead and put this on the section layer. All right, let's go ahead and move this. So I'm just going to select it. Go to move, enter, go from this endpoint, place it right on that endpoint there. I thought I had it on the right layer. Let me go ahead and select here and put it on the section layer. Oh, I actually changed my current layer. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then I can move this down just a hair. I'm just going to use the move command and bring it down just a hair, just so I got a gap in between here. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a piece of text that goes here, right? And I'm going to make it 3/16 of 0.1875 tall. Now I'm using the annotation scale, so I'm just going to tell my style to go ahead and adjust it there. I got 2 ways of kind of doing this. I can adjust it manually just by typing in ST, hit the enter button, and then I can double click on annotation. Another option is that if you're in the annotation one here, you can go over and find your text, and then you can select here in the drop down, and then you can tell it to be on the annotative. Either one of those methods will work, right? And I think somewhere on the home one, there should be all of them. Let's see. I'll have to remember, yeah, here underneath the drop down here, I can go ahead and select it here, right? So 3 different ways of where you can select it. Okay. Now that annotative is my style that I'm going to use, I'm just going to use regular text, right? So single line text. It's going to ask me, hey, give me a justification. I'm just going to type in MC. That stands for middle center. I'm just going to touch this endpoint, track over a little bit, do a left click here. It's going to ask me for the paper height. Now this is the major difference. So it's asking for the paper height. I'm just going to type in the 0.1875. Go ahead and hit enter one more time. Type in A, hit the enter button, or click off of it and then hit escape. Let's go ahead and move this over just a hair. And then I'm going to mirror this to the top, right? So I'm just going to use the mirror command. So mirror, select this, hit enter. Now I want to mirror this right at the midpoint, right? So I'm just going to shift and right click, and I'll go ahead and choose mid between 2 points. I'm going to select this top endpoint here, and then this endpoint here, and I'm just going to mirror it right across to here. Okay, I always answer no to that question. All right, or typically I will. You can see that I don't have any room here at the bottom. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'm just going to use the move command. Select all of this, hit enter, click here, and move it up. Just to give myself a little room here at the bottom. Okay, so here along the bottom, I'm going to put a label here. I'll go back to the single line text. Its automatic justification is already set to middle point or middle center. So I'm just going to click here. The height of this, I'm going to make 0.25, hit enter. Enter one more time. I'm going to type in %% space, and then I'll type in my section A space, and then I'll left click out here and hit escape. I can do the exact same thing here that I just did on the other one. I can go ahead and come to the text one, click here, enter, %% space isometric view space, click, and escape. Okay. Now we can take a look at all of this, and we can see that it is actually done, right? So we have all of our dimensions on this drawing. We have an isometric view, and hopefully you enjoyed watching this. I kind of went through it a little quicker. Hopefully you were able to keep up with me, and if you wasn't, go ahead and leave me a comment below, and I will try to slow down in the next one. But hopefully this was, easy enough to follow along, and I made it nice and clear for you, especially with the isometric. As you can see, it's kind of, crazy sometimes switching back and forth and doing some other things of that nature. But anyway, there actually should be a little curve here at the bottom of it, but I'm not going to ding myself too hard on the isometric. So thank you for watching, and if this is your first time to the channel, please consider subscribing. And remember that this is the first part of a 3-part series, so there will be a AutoCAD 3D one coming next, and then there will be one of this created also in Inventor. So if those interest you, please subscribe to the channel and turn the bell notification on for when I release those here in the future. All right, so thank you for watching.